Alright, what's up everyone? So today we're diving into a juicy AITA post. This one's titled AITA for thinking that my girlfriend has a crush on my brother and canceling my weekend trip with her when she asked for him to come with us? Yeah, buckle up, this is gonna be a ride. Edit. Sorry for making this post so long and bloated. I was passionate and just vomited all my thoughts lol. I'm 22 and Felix 18 is my adopted brother. My parents saved Felix from an abusive home when he was a kid, so they were always really protective over him and he was always the favorite. This made me feel bitter toward him while growing up. Even though Felix is an adult who just started college, my parents still dote on him. Up until he moved out, they made his meals and they still schedule his doctor appointments, which they didn't do for me at his age. I met Emma 21 at university and we've been together for about 3 years. She's so damn sweet, funny, beautiful, and we're super close. Felix was accepted into the same university as me, and while he probably could have gone to a better one, our parents forced him to go to mine as they thought it would be safer and make visits easier if we lived in the same city. Anyways, I think my girlfriend Emma is interested in Felix, and it breaks my heart to think it. And this is probably my fault. When I was helping Felix choose his classes, his major had overlap with Emma's, so I signed him up for a couple of hers. This is because A, I didn't know what the fuck else to go off of, and B, if they're in the same class, I could see them afterwards and show Felix around campus or give him a ride to the grocery store, etc. and get to see my GF. I never even thought of what could go wrong. First day I went to see them after their class, I introduced them to each other and we went to get food. I realized that they were getting along really well. She laughed at his jokes, asked him about random facts from their studies and then marveled at how smart he was after he knew the answer. Don't get me wrong, Emma was still far more all over me, so at that time I thought it was just her being her sweet self. But over time, their blooming friendship became harder and harder for me to bear. Felix has this way of interacting with others that's very flirtatious and he doesn't seem to notice. Like this one time we had a friend gathering at our house and Felix told one of the girls that she's so pretty that if he saw her picture being used to sell frames at the store, he'd buy the whole shelf or something like that. But he seemed surprised when she asked him to go out with her later on and told her no. He does this behavior with everyone, even other dudes, and now with Emma. It drives me crazy because no one else finds this behavior creepy the way I do, but I guarantee if an ugly guy acted like Felix, suddenly my parents wouldn't find it so cute. The first thing was when we went to a restaurant because my parents were in town and Emma was invited. She noted how good her food was. Felix asked if he could try some and she said yes. But instead of scooping some of it out of her plate like a normal person, he gently tugged on her sleeve, guided her spoon into his mouth, and thanked her. She just giggled. Am I crazy for finding that intimate? If she updates her appearance, Felix will notice and compliment her. He joked that if biology doesn't work out for her, she could easily fall back on a modeling career. I've heard him say this kind of shit to countless girls, so I told Emma it means nothing. He's also invited us to hang out with him in the past, and even if I can't go with them, we'll still ask her to go with just the two of them. Emma has never stopped him. At least at first, she'd laugh it off dismissively, but over time it was clear she was enjoying the attention. She began talking about him a lot, like funny things he did in class, and asked a couple times what he was like when he was younger. When the winter quarter began, they joined some classes together, and for the first time Emma didn't bother to ask me to join any of hers. They would hang out together after class without me. And when the three of us did hang out, she'd give him more and more attention, looking at him while smiling as if he's the best thing ever. I just wish she'd look at me like she used to. One day I overheard her and her friend in my apartment, where her friend complained there are no men in our major with both brains and brawn. They're in STEM, so all the dudes in there are probably built like the Chicago bean, and Emma quietly replied, "That's not true, just look at Felix." I have to admit I cried on my floor that night. The absolute worst thing was when our friend group was at McDonald's. We were joking about this flyer we saw on campus asking for nude models that paid really well. Suddenly Emma, in front of me, told Felix he should sign up for it. This turned into an uncomfortably drawn-out conversation between Emma and a few other friends about my brother's body and how he would be perfect for artists to sculpt. They worded it grossly, albeit in a joking manner, and how he needs this. Had been job searching. Emma kept being insistent, saying seriously you'd make so much money, genuinely trying to convince him. Felix kept saying no and giving valid reasons why he didn't want to, but Emma kept being pushy, telling him to apply. She and the others didn't quit until Felix stopped responding. I'm not confrontational at all, but in the car ride home I passively said that whole conversation was kinda weird and it was uncomfortable for me to hear about how badly my own girlfriend and her friends wanted my brother to get naked. Me and Emma are the unserious type, and I said this in a pretty joking way. But she seemed to take it seriously. She said what? Like my accusation was the stupidest thing she's ever heard, and she said she was just trying to be like a good older sister to Felix and help him get a job. I told her that while I want him to get hired too, it's not like I'd urge him to do OnlyFans or something. She told me I'm sexualizing a job that's innocent, which I can get, but I told her that regardless, Felix looked uncomfortable and probably felt sexualized since they were making comments about specific parts of his body. We went back and forth for a bit over this, never really raising our voices but both being upset, and I ended up dropping her off at her own place instead of taking her back to my apartment. They'll also say that since Felix moved here, I tried to become an extra good boyfriend for Emma. If Felix complimented her hair, I'd buy her an expensive hair product and compliment her even better. I've always spoiled her, but feeling competitive, I really upped my game. I know that was a really backwards way of solving my insecurities rather than just talking to Felix or Emma. But I didn't want to admit that I'm jealous of Felix like I had to all the time when we were kids. I just want one fucking area of my life that's mine, that gives me its undivided love and attention, and I thought that Emma was that for me. Now whenever she mentions Felix or I think of them in class together, I feel physically ill. That's just to say that the day after the semi-argument I felt insecure again and texted an apology to Emma. Then I proposed that we go and visit a nearby lake town that she'd been wanting to do for a whole year. She already had a plan of everything she wanted to do there, it's always just been me that was too busy. So she was super excited. She chose a weekend and we spent the prior week planning for it, deciding the activities and packing, and she booked us a hotel room. But before we headed out on Friday, she asked me a question that fucking destroyed me. She asked if we could bring Felix. No other friends. She didn't ask if we could make it a group thing. She asked for just Felix to come. I asked her why on earth we'd bring my little brother when it's supposed to be something romantic for the two of us. She explained that the three of us are always hanging out and she's told Felix about the lake and invited him to go sometime in the past, so it would be rude not to bring him. After bottling up everything for so long, I finally blew up at her with how upset the two of them made me. How I felt like a third wheel whenever it's the three of us. I mentioned the flirting and the conversation I overheard and even briefly mentioned how my parents did this exact thing to me. Admittedly, they have nothing to do with her, but still told her I'm so tired of being someone's second favorite. She responded by saying I was totally exaggerating as I'm acting like she cheated when she didn't do anything. I never accused her of cheating. She said all their interactions have been platonic, and she kept explaining her side of things to where I began to feel guilty for getting so emotional. But I told her I was sorry and wouldn't go to the lake with her anymore, which pissed her off. She said the hotel and a couple places she booked times with would charge her a cancellation fee, but I didn't care. This happened about a week ago and I haven't seen them since. Felix texted me asking to talk just the two of us. I assume Emma told him about our fight, but I blocked him. Do I genuinely think Felix is interested in Emma? No, he's probably just sheltered as fuck by my parents and doesn't know better. But do I think Emma likes him? Yes. But I still love her so damn much. But what if I'm wrong? What if she just thinks he's a good friend? In their defense, I've never really told Felix to stop the flirting, nor really mentioned to Emma that her friendship with him bugs me. I'm also the one that put them in the same classes and introduced them. TLDR, my girlfriend and brother have been flirting in front of me. AITA for canceling my plans with my girlfriend to the lake when she asked my brother to come. Am I overreacting? What should I do? I can't talk to my parents about this because they adore him. Wait, hold on. So, the dude's girlfriend is like, super into his adopted brother. And he's feeling totally replaced, which sucks. Okay, the spoon thing is kinda weird, I'll give him that. And suggesting he be a nude model? Dude, that's just messed up. Poor guy's feeling like he's back in childhood, competing for attention. But blocking his brother? That might be a bit much. He probably doesn't even realize what's going on. I'm so torn on who's in the wrong here. Time to check out some reactions from fellow Redditors. NTA. Whole thing sounds brutal, get out while you can. Even that you've tried so hard to discuss it in a non-confrontational way and she's used that to beat you with. I'm not sure what else you can do other than realize it's not paranoia and GTFO. She's emotionally invested in him. Not trying to sound harsh, but how does your GF of 3 years not know or hasn't witnessed how you feel about Felix? Seriously, I'm sure you have mentioned to her the unequal treatment to her before, and for her to fawn this much over him is really insensitive. Also, there's no reason why you needed to bring him along on the romantic weekend. If I were you, I'd contact Felix first and actually have an honest and constructive conversation with him about how you felt like second best and his flirting with your GF just really bothered you. This is the thing, nothing you said about Felix, at least in the post, makes me think he wants to hurt you. He may actually want to be closer to you. I think that may be difficult if you aren't honest with him about how you feel. And if he's evil, you'll find out quickly because he'll hear you and continue to do the things that hurt you. Either way, it is a win for you. As for your GF, I kinda think her lack of communication and her suspected reaching out to Felix rather than solving it with you is telling. I'm sorry. She seems more interested in her own feelings than being able to see how your feelings are important too. Also, Felix's charisma and flirty attitude is very common for kids that have been abused. Maybe he feels like he needs to please everyone or they want like him like those in the past. Or maybe it's a coping thing. Either way, I bet he has feelings of insecurities too, and a talk with him may bring some light to that. Thank you for the advice. I've told her that I didn't like my brother, but for some reason admitting that it's jealousy makes me feel more inadequate. So I only specified this when we argued last week. I'm still on the fence about talking with my bro. That sounds uncomfortable as we've never had an emotional conversation. Our whole text history is just memes. I agree with that statement about my GF, and I wish she'd see things from my perspective and admit how absurd she's been acting. For that last comment, Felix doesn't have PTSD or anything. He's the first person to joke about his zoinked out parents. I think he's flirty because that sweet talking was always rewarded by my mom and dad. End this relationship. She's emotionally involved with him. There's no going back. Get ready because they will stay together. She will invest in a relationship with him. Thanks for tuning in. Share your opinions in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.